when the traditional sort of organization is more about control, is the shift more towards participation, and that is why we are probably saying what we are saying? If so, yes, then how do we manage risks associated with it when we allow for more of these things to be happening? And how do we then get that balance? Because if we do too much of risk management, then it's not effective participation. Then the new ideas are not ready. It will not come up. So how do we manage that part? Because if we don't, then inherently it's a similar structure that has been going on since the past.
I think it's important to define the boundaries, and it is horses for courses. So, for example, Dubai, the need for diversity and expatriate population in Dubai is a need. Yeah. Only 10% of the population is local, 90% is expatriates, and the economy and the country cannot function if it does not make it a place that is welcoming, sustainably welcoming for expatriates. That's the reality. The country will not survive. UAE will not survive if it was only the locals, and therefore, they have therefore made it an opportunity. So then you make your choices. You make it tax free. You make it, a hub. Oil runs out, and you make it into a financial hub. But you constantly strive to make it a place that's great and offers a lot of freedom, but at the same time offers structure. Because if in this place, if you were to not be absolutely rigid about the following of the rule of law, it would go out of control. So I think, as I said, I come back. Eventually you could always, you'll come back to right answers in the middle, and every situation you got to find the middle. But that's just one point of view.
But on the risk part, as you said, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it, because risk appetite from a leadership to a company to an organization varies depending on structure, historical legacy, etc., context. Yes, it's all matters, and there are tons of people making tons of money from share trading because they're able to balance the risk element of it. There are some who tried. They came out burning every fingers of theirs. So I think taking a very balanced and nuanced approach is very important. And a very important thing, this has come from all the leaders here, is understanding your environment well. You have to understand the environment we are dealing with. And that's constantly changing. So you have to stay ahead of the curve. And that's when you are able to, the risk appetite or understanding and taking a decision becomes that much easier. It's, again, as I said, there's no right or wrong. You will make mistakes. There would be an aspects where you would want to take the risk, and there would be those days where you don't want to. But probably I would like to conclude by, as you said, the right answer is always in the middle. This is something which I picked up from my daughter. So same thing, at one point of time, you're struggling with this, and now she's in university overseas. And one day I was just agitated, and that came out, and it came out in my telephone conversation. She just said 3 single sentence, and whenever it's a difficult phase, I remember she said, "Chill, bro." I did not realize when from a dad I became bro. But all she said was, "Chill, bro. Everything is under control." Okay, so sometimes when I come to a facet of I just tell myself, "Chill, bro." Things are not bad.
It's not bro, it's bro.
Okay.
Bro. Yeah, correct.
Okay. So.
Yes, great. That's a very interesting point. And just today morning, I heard this again from one of our colleague.
Okay.
Yes. So he was saying, "Hello, bro," and we were surprised that who are you talking to? Then he says, "This is my son."
Mine was a reverse thing. Yes.
Great. Syed, you wanted to say something?
No, my context here is that we as leaders, we're not fully prepared for the next generation. That could be in terms of the risk or in terms of the approach we take them to deal with the personal aspect or professional aspects. Of course, we have to balance that. That's fine. But still, the level of preparedness, we as a parent or we as an employer have to inculcate those things. It will take time. Because I would like to just highlight on a specific thing. Me and Mohan, we used to interact a lot. the rate of innovation index, if you see in oil and gas, is zero. Since the day we came here, we are still putting special or super or E plus, right? But what about the innovation index in the IT sector? If you could see, it's 55% across year on year. So to balance that, your talent deficit answer lies here. So all the Gen Z want to go there, and nobody wants to do the lot of the mechanical stuff, electromechanical. Still, we are getting robots, but doesn't surface the requirement. Okay, but US in Deloitte, sorry, as well as in few specific areas, even in Stanford, there is a lot of requirement, especially for the skilled labors, which cannot be replaced by the robots. That is one dimension. The second aspect is that this is not a context, this is the content of the matter, is that how do we evolve these things, because the next generation is not interested to do the hard stuff. Okay, yes, of course, their acceleration towards the innovation is more, but it is inclined towards the tech sector, not in the hardcore industry. So what will happen in the oil and gas? Until today, there is no different kind of course, the electric vehicles have come, hydrogen, Toyota is testing the hydrogen, but the innovation, if you see in coal and oil, it's zero, right? Still today, we are using 3 different kinds of petrols and fuel. Still the diesel going to remain same. The hydrogen has come and the hybrid technology has come, electric vehicles have come. This also goes back to the type of industry we are going to create. That goes back to the education also. Like now the AA University has come up in UAE. We are coming up with different set of programs, which it is catered specifically to the hardcore sectors like oil and gas, the mechanical streams, the electromechanical streams. So that's what I perceive personally as, if you go tech side, it's more of a soft base, but the values are learned through the hard phase.
I think that's a very valid point. Since you asked specifically the question, how to develop talent, I think it's a means to an end. Understanding the end is also important, especially with AI disruption. I think it was the NVIDIA CEO or maybe Satya was saying that the future is about people. If he had to advise people on what to study, he would advise physical engineering, industrial engineering, mechanical. These are things that will not get replaced by either robots or by AI, and that is where the next groundswell of change will also come from. And it's a very important point as an educator, and also as leaders. It's not just about your organization, but also about society at large. I see a huge issue with the aspiration, the gap between aspiration and the opportunity amongst the workforce in the Indian context, because you're from XL. I think the number of people coming into the workforce, young people coming into the workforce versus the opportunities, there is a gap, and that gap is going to widen. And the kind of opportunities that are considered aspirational are anyways diminishing. The opportunities arising on other spots on the spectrum, but there is no willingness or inclination to go there. And I think some of the answers lie there, but I think there's a social implication of the gap between the amount of people coming into the workforce and the opportunities available. It has ramifications which are substantial. And I think that from a social perspective, that leadership must also, steer societies in the right direction.
So it's also about, we talk about talent development, your definition of what that talent is, right? Here, we in some ways define talent in a very narrow way of managerial talent, right? Within the context, which is fair. I mean, that's what we, but I think the point is today, if you look at an overall, the biggest shortage of jobs is either in nursing, healthcare, or things like, your carpentry, your plumbing, hardcore jobs, right? I mean, you can have all the tech in the world, but people still are going to get sick. People still need elderly care. Look at that, right? Is there talent needed? There's a huge amount of talent needed. Somebody talked about empathy and sympathy, right? That's a big need of that talent. Where are we developing the talent? Okay, and with due respect, where are the management schools who are supposed to be shaping the talent before they come into the workforce, addressing the larger society issues to say, multi-talent has to be developed in the multipolar world, right? Are we being a little bit unilateral and to that extent being very unipolar?
Excellent point. And I think when we talk about leadership, society is not outside that,
yes,
right? At least in XLRI, we focus a lot on ethics and society as a part of our education. and it was one of the first business schools to come out with ethics, which is compulsory course in XLRI. But I hear your point, and the societal complexity and the role of leadership is also to manage the organization and shape society, and that is what leadership competencies must also look for, and business schools particularly and management institutes must develop it. We may be failing behind, coming with only focusing on leadership to manage organization, but not leadership to manage societies.
Actually, I must highlight one thing here. Recently, I go for lots of campus interviews in India, and there was lots of attrition in my design team, especially engineering design, because anybody with 2 years of experience jumps with a 50% increase to the other EPC players and all. Then we were trying to fix this. How do we fix this? Then I was talking to my CEO. He said, why don't you guys go for diploma engineering trainees? Why don't you look at the ITIs, Industrial Training Institutes? I went first time in my life, I have entered an ITI. When I went, I was in double mind because I always go to the NITs or IITs for campuses. First time I am going to ITI. What will I get? But I was shell shocked when I got into a thing. You know what Tata's does. We are from Jamshedpur. We know what Tata's does. Each and every ITI I have gone in Tamil Nadu. This was the first visit in Tamil Nadu. Tata has set up a big industrial shed, and they're training all these people from the low strata of the society. It's a child of a mason, carpenter, the daily wage earners. They are training them in the industrial electronic vehicle. They have introduced robotic welding there in the institute. Robotic welding, designing team, then computer applications. They have introduced, and they are training the children. They are walking their talk. And whatever trades, what I went for a designer, but I could see like most of my friends here in UAE from the MEP companies or maybe from some of the other companies, they are short of electricians, the elevators, they are short of lift technicians. They are training them in
excellent. Yes.
ITIs.
And
so that's the society. That's what is happening in India.
If we extend multipolarity to this situation as well, many organizations are already working towards that, and developing talent outside the usual pools of talent development, or the pools of talent that come to a business school or an IIT is something that is very, very important, and maybe that also gives us more competencies that we have not looked at.